Get ready.
Nostalgic references, cheesy dialogue and meta-humour, the cornerstones of any throwback media. But are these things alone enough to hold up an RPG? One of the most epic genres when done right, but the most repetitive when done wrong. Saturday Morning RPG stars a boy called Marty who comes across a magical notebook. He soon learns that collecting stickers from his favourite TV shows and movies and placing them into the book gives him the powers from the many heroes of pop culture legend. He then has to use these powers to stop the evil Commander Hood and win the heart of his high school crush, while at the same time interacting with a cast of colourful characters that fill the world of his wacky high school life. The premise alone is a pretty interesting setup, and the game is packed to the rafters with references to 80s and 90s media, including video games, cartoons, movies, some subtle, others right in your face. The water station, for example, is called Jean-Claude Van Damme. There's Back to the Future, Transformers, Mario, Zelda, Star Wars. It's all here to tickle your nostalgic funny bone, and there is even a Christmas episode. So there is definitely going to be something in here you will find to relate to, geek out, or just chuckle at the fact they made a reference to something from the past. All packed in a 16-bit graphic style that fits nicely with the theme, with the janky animation often lending to the humour. The game is broken up into 5 episodes, each with a different theme and loosely links together as a whole, with only small decisions made in early episodes making a slight alteration to small story beats later on. So very much like a Saturday morning cartoon, where it helps if you watch the whole series, but it's no big deal if you missed an episode here or there. The things you collect and the levels you have achieved will carry over into whichever episode you play next, with the option to scale enemy levels so you're not steamrolling enemies. There is also an arena mode and challenge mode, which is a nice touch, but it really comes down to the battle system and whether it has enough weight for you to keep playing. Similar to Paper Mario, the game has a heavy minigame style. Most items you collect will activate a short button prompt minigame to increase effectiveness or increase damage on attacks. Also, when the enemy attacks you, you can press a button on impact to lower or negate damage dealt. And at first this is fine, providing you are switching your attacks in your notebook regularly as you collect new stickers and attacks. But unfortunately, what could have been a deep strategy based gameplay soon shows its shallow end, with some attacks being much more useful than others. Meaning you stick with the same attacks and play the same minigames over and over, with you almost being punished for trying something different. Charging up before attacking is a good example of this. You don't have to charge before you attack, but if you do, you can multiply your attack power by up to 10 times, meaning this is often the best way to deal damage. So every other turn you're activating this charge move before dealing damage, which grows really old, really fast. Which is a shame because the first time you saw it you were like, cool, Dragon Ball Z reference. This is true to all the attacks in Saturday Morning RPG. Fun to see what nostalgic reference it will do next, then fed up for seeing it after the 50th time. the battles are just a slog. Along with the fact your attacks are limited in use, you may find yourself stuck in a back and forth stalemate like two Pokemon with no PP left using Struggle on each other. Now you could argue it's just your chosen loadout or the way you level your character stats that result in this, but again this pushes the player to using the same attacks and therefore seeing the same animations over and over again to just get the best results. Also, before beginning every battle, you have to wiggle the left stick to scratch off stickers in your loadout to give you buffs for the fight. But this is by far the most annoying aspect of this game. Imagine having to press a button 200 times before a fight to activate the stats of your armour. If you don't, you might as well go into the fight with no armour. This is the only purpose of this minigame. It's just dumb, and every battle you are forced to do this. You can choose easier to scratch off stickers, but they give you weaker stats as a result, so it makes sense to pick a loadout with the best stats, making this feature of the game dreadful and completely unnecessary. The story never really goes far enough either. There is so much text to wade through each episode that it too becomes a grind. Some may find the pull of what they will reference next enough to drag you through it all, but most will switch off long before. With a setting like this, you could have really done some interesting things, but it never really goes further than what you experience in the first few episodes, with the locations all being a bit plain. It was at this time I realised that experiencing Saturday Morning RPG this way is very much like binge watching an 80s cartoon. You will have fond memories of a show, but watching 1 or 2 episodes a week was how it was meant to be digested. Because Saturday Morning RPG was originally released in episodes with several months gap in between, I would imagine it would hold its appeal better this way. Instead, it's like watching a massive box set of childhood cartoons where you're seeing the same animation reused every episode, taking up half the runtime. Saturday Morning RPG even ends like those old cartoons, which is kind of funny in its own right when you think about it, ending with no real conclusion, with a hint of join us next episode. And many of the 80s and 90s TV shows ended the same way when they were cancelled. But unfortunately, as far as recommending a video game goes, it's just another thing that takes away from what might drive people to finish the game in the first place. In its core, there is a great game idea here. This could have been an outstanding RPG, and all the pieces are here to give a player a hilariously funny adventure. But battles are dull, lacking variety, and instead feel like there's just too many and definitely go on too long. Story is incomplete and is patched together with references which isn't enough to make it truly entertaining. I really wanted to enjoy this game, I really did, but there is no escaping the fact it buckles under the weight of what should make an RPG fun, and all the pop culture references in the world cannot hide what is ultimately an unfulfilling gaming experience. Kizra says, already sold on its stupid humour, these attacks are amazing, more cheese than a lunch lady's burgers. Fanata says, big miss, no thanks Bill. True Nemesis says, music is the best thing for me because it sounds like 80s Transformers. Lisa Twig says, you had me when you mentioned Saturday morning cartoons. Hit from me, I mean come on, it's literally non-stop cheese. What's not to love? Vagris says, miss from me, it hasn't grabbed my interest enough and there's probably way more RPGs out there that will grab attention from the get-go. I will admit the attacks and use items are very creative. And finally Cake for All says, I got the impression that Saturday morning RPG gameplay could get repetitive quickly despite its humour. So adding up all the hits and the misses from the One Life Left community, we collectively give Saturday Morning RPG 33%. If you'd like to join us on the next episode of Critical Hit and give your opinions and comments to contribute to a final score, then join the One Life Left community on YouTube, Twitch, Discord and the Facebook group, and add your comments to any of our video game review posts. This was Bill on behalf of One Life Left. Thanks to everybody who gave their opinions on this week's Critical Hit, and we'll see you next time. Laters!